Greetings, I'm Ari. Here in Israel, several things are happening at the same time, especially in Gaza. On one hand, the accusation that Israel has used, listen carefully, a mini nuclear bomb is going viral on Arab social media. And on the other hand, we have the Hamas terrorists desperately begging to let their comrades who got trapped in the tunnels out. Right below what is now the area controlled by Israel, by the Israeli army, that is on the Israeli side of the yellow line, this famous yellow strip. Let's start with the latter. What is reported in open sources is that there are about 200 Hamas fighters who remained on the other side, isolated underground, especially in what used to be the city of Rafah, in areas like Tel al-Sultan and Shabura. There are reports in Hebrew media, Kiryat Ashabat and in Mako, that talk about tunnels beneath areas now controlled by the Israel Defense Forces. And that relatives of the terrorists received calls from some of them asking for help. Gaza Report is a media outlet providing updates from the Gazan perspective. He summarized it with the following words: Hamas never abandons its terrorists. The exact number is unclear. Some sources say about 200, others mention hundreds or several dozen. There are no publicly confirmed details. What does this mean in practice? That they are with the Israel Defense Forces above them, literally in the tunnels under enemy territory. The same reports indicate that they are not receiving support from their organization, which in an underground environment usually means very limited resources. Obviously, they have no way to get any kind of resources to them, neither weapons nor food. That's why some of them have reached out abroad seeking mediation from their relatives in Gaza. Communications. So, in any war, and especially with the technology Israel uses, it easily gives them away, reveals their positions, and speeds up tactical decisions. At least on the Israeli side, there were even clashes in these areas with Israeli casualties. We were documenting it in recent days, which confirms that obviously the area remains active and tense. At the same time, there is talk discussed in the local media here in Israel of offering them a way out if they hand over their weapons. Regardless of whether that moves forward or not, it raises very uncomfortable questions. Why did Hamas leave them there? That's the first thing this group of militants does once they're in there. Was it a hasty withdrawal, a miscalculation, or simply propaganda over their own people? Well, we would have to analyze what happened, how they ended up stuck in there, considering that Israel obviously gave a limited amount of time for all the fighters to leave this yellow strip, which was going to be the limit of the yellow strip, and enter the area that was assigned to them. Obviously, Israel would occupy all territory from the yellow line back. Or maybe they played hide and seek, maybe trying to surprise the Israeli army by deliberately staying hidden there. Well, today they're asking for my help. The fact is that while these questions linger, the men remain underground in the tunnels, isolated and under pressure, while Israel considers what to do with these isolated fighters. All of this is happening within the framework of the ceasefire. Well, the Israel Defense Forces is taking the necessary time for the search and elimination phase of each tunnel that is now under their control, behind the yellow line, directed by the Minister of Defense. The priority today is to search every corner where Israel, of the Israeli army, currently has possession. Galleries, shelters, and depots in a wide area that ended up in Israeli hands. And the directive is to neutralize it, literally, because these underground nests represent a direct and ongoing threat. Exactly. In the middle of this operation, images and accusations have started circulating on Arab social media, which obviously soon reached Western networks, about the use of a mini nuclear bomb. This sounds strange, mini nuclear bomb, right there in Gaza. The images obviously have an impact, they cause alarm. But it's best to calmly look at what these events really show, what kind of weapon it could have been, and what technical and legal implications all of this has. We have these impressive images of the detonation of this bomb, which according to them would show the use of the mini nuclear bomb in Gaza. And of course, when we use the word nuclear, it immediately causes fear. Just hearing it brings to mind images of mass destruction. But if we calmly look at what the videos show and what we know about this type of explosion, the reality points to something very different. Experts agree that this is not a nuclear weapon, but rather what is known as a thermobaric bomb, also called a vacuum bomb. In simple terms, it has nothing to do with radiation or uranium. This type of weapon works by releasing a cloud of fuel that mixes with the air and is then detonated. This mixture creates a huge explosion, a longer-lasting shockwave, and extreme heat. When used in enclosed spaces such as tunnels or bunkers, the effect is devastating because the pressure wave lasts longer, causing structures to collapse and consuming all the oxygen in the area. And here's the key. That cloud of dust and fire that forms gives the visual impression of a nuclear mushroom cloud. It's very similar to what we've seen in videos of thermobaric bombs used in other conflicts. In fact, Russia used this type of weapon in 2024, particularly with the TOS-1A system, and the images that were shared at that time are almost identical. A huge explosion, a rising cloud, and a shockwave that seems endless. But it wasn't nuclear, it was thermobaric. Those weapons are not banned by international law, but they are very controversial because of their destructive power. Cloud was used for Israel, and in this case, the cloud was used for the citizens of Israel. The cloud was used to protect and to... On the surface, homes destroyed by the war stood empty of civilians. However, beneath them are tunnels and Hamas hideouts, which explains why the army chose this type. He explains. They chose to, and something even more important, if it had really been a nuclear bomb, the whole world would know about it. Atomic explosions leave radiological signals that can be detected by satellites and monitoring centers within minutes. And there hasn't been any report of radiation in the area. That alone debunks the whole mini-nuke theory, as it's not known a mini-nuclear bomb, considering something even more compelling. And that's in the area. The place where it was detonated is just about 10 kilometers from the border with Israel, where there are Israeli cities immediately nearby. And without a doubt, if a nuclear bomb were detonated, no matter how small in Gaza, just 10 kilometers from the border, the radiation would quickly reach and cause a devastating effect on those same Israeli cities. Well, in summary, the images are real and of course they are shocking, but what we see is not a nuclear bomb, but rather a thermobaric explosion directed against an underground system. What this episode does show is how the information war runs parallel to the real war. While Israel fights underground, social networks fight with images and words. And as always, they present a reality different from what is actually happening in this war between Israel and the terrorist group, Hamas. Something very important, check if what's happening to you is what a lot of people tell me in the comments, that they can't subscribe to the channel. Check if the subscribe button works for you, and while you're at it, activate the bell next to it. That will allow the system on this platform to notify you when I upload a new video. Remember that we also have memberships that give you access to the private news group on WhatsApp, where every day we post what's happening here in Israel. Alright, while the noise from viral videos dies down, the map around Israel is not quiet. The Israel Defense Forces warned Lebanon that they could expand operations against Hezbollah because the organization is trying to rebuild its capabilities and regain influence after the blows of recent months. He pointed it out again in recent days. And there are already more than 300 targets precisely eliminated there in Lebanon of terrorist leaders who work for Hezbollah. All this after the pronounced ceasefire in this special area of the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. And the thing is that every week Israel detects and pursues the leaders who are rising up. And it doesn't take long for Israeli intelligence to mark them and eliminate them. Meanwhile, Iran is acting. A report indicates that it has doubled its military support to the Shiite factions in Iraq, with more weapons and with training under the supervision of the Quds Force. The idea would be to move part of its center of military influence to Iraq, after setbacks in Lebanon, Syria, and Gaza. Sources say these militias have become so strong that in some areas they exceed the Iraqi army's capacity. And here comes a delicate point. Russia, on specialized networks, reports have increased about new weapon systems that Moscow is supplying to Tehran. The Russian foreign minister stated there are now no restrictions on military and technical cooperation with Iran. Among the reports, an S-400 battery is mentioned, which is said to have arrived for testing near Isfahan. And to this, there's even the idea of transferring Su-35 aircraft. Iran is reportedly installing bunker-busting warheads on ballistic missiles designed to penetrate underground targets, depots, command headquarters, and control sites here in Israel. It's a direct response to the blows suffered by their high command during the so-called 12-day war against Israel. The logistical signs point in the same direction. Antonov 124 cargo flights from Irkutsk to Iran, possibly linked to the JAG-130, and more heavy cargo planes landing with advanced weaponry. In recent weeks, everything adds pressure in the region, and Israel is keeping all of this under close supervision. Obviously, with spy drones and satellites providing intelligence services in this region of the world for Israel. Meanwhile, at home, Israeli forces continue to operate in Judea and Samaria as well. The Van unit, together with the Shin Bet, carried out 2 arrests of wanted individuals linked to Hamas in Nablus and Masajid. It's another reminder that the home front, which is what the conflict inside Israel is called, specifically in the area of Judea and Samaria, known worldwide as the West Bank, remains not only active but very heated. Well, what do we make of all this? Hezbollah is rearming, Iran is rearming and moving weapons toward Iraq, and Russia opens the tap. Of course, Israel is maintaining pressure on several fronts at the same time. The question is, how long can this balance be maintained before one of those threads breaks? Military analysts believe this situation won't last much longer, and that at one of these points, the pressure is simply going to break. Will we see war again? And now I ask you something. And if you value this kind of analysis, the videos we make reporting the news about what's happening in Israel and the region, subscribe now, and remember, our memberships offer access to the private WhatsApp news group. Don't leave without leaving your like. See you